She waited by the window every day, until a stranger changed everything. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already, please do well to hit that subscribe button and let me know where you're watching from in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. The curtains never stayed closed in that house. Every day at exactly 4 p.m., Evelyn Warren pulled them apart and took her usual seat by the bay window. It had become her ritual, tea in hand, eyes scanning the road. Waiting. The townsfolk in Maple Hollow had long stopped asking questions. The children called her the Ghost Lady. Teenagers joked about the haunted woman in the blue house. But Evelyn didn't mind. Her heart was elsewhere, decades behind her, trapped in a moment when a train pulled away, and the man she loved promised to return. He never did. But Evelyn had promised to wait. "Every day until your boots walk back to me," she'd whispered through tears as his train disappeared into the war-torn distance. She kept that promise. For 41 years. It was a gray Tuesday, the kind where the sky forgets how to be blue. Evelyn sat at her post, as usual. But something was different. Her tea trembled slightly in her hand. A strange feeling stirred inside her chest. Then came the knock. Not a neighbor. Not the postman. A stranger. Tall, around 30, dark curls tucked under a cap. He held an envelope in one hand and a nervous smile in the other. "Mrs. Warren?" he asked softly. She froze. No one had called her that in years. I think I'm your grandson." The word grandson clung to the air like smoke. Evelyn stared at the young man, her heart hammering inside her ribs. "That's impossible," she whispered. "I don't have a grandson." The man stepped forward carefully, not wanting to startle her. "My name is Caleb. My father was Thomas Warren. He died before I was born." Evelyn's breath caught. Thomas. She hadn't heard that name aloud in decades. Her only son, the boy she raised alone after James, her husband, disappeared during the war. Thomas had gone searching for answers about his father. That search had taken him far. Too far. And he never came back. Evelyn shook her head slowly, tears welling in her eyes. "Thomas, he never told me he had a child." Caleb looked down, pulling the envelope from his jacket pocket. "He didn't know. My mother found out after he was gone. She kept everything, including this letter, the one he wrote but never sent." With trembling hands, Evelyn took the aged envelope. The handwriting stopped her cold. Slanted, careful, familiar. Thomas's handwriting. She unfolded the paper inside, its creases soft with time. As she read, the room blurred. "Mama, if you're reading this, it means I didn't make it back. I'm sorry I never found him. I looked everywhere. But I met someone, a woman who helped me remember how to live again. If I don't come home, please know, you're not alone anymore. My son is your legacy now. His name is Caleb. Find him. Love him like I know you always loved me." Evelyn pressed the letter to her chest, her shoulders shaking. "I thought I'd lost everything," she whispered. "But you're him. Your hope." Caleb stepped forward, tears in his own eyes. "I've waited my whole life to find you." And just like that, after 4 decades of silence and sorrow, Evelyn stood up, crossed the room, and wrapped her arms around the stranger who was no longer a stranger. Outside, for the first time in weeks, the sun began to break through the clouds. The kettle whistled again, but Evelyn didn't hear it. She sat across from Caleb at the old kitchen table, her hands wrapped tightly around a mug of tea that had long gone cold. Her eyes were still on him, drinking in every detail. The curve of his nose, the shape of his jaw, the flecks of green in his eyes. So much like Thomas. So much like James. I used to imagine this moment, Caleb said softly. What it would be like to meet you. But I didn't think you'd still be waiting. Evelyn smiled sadly. I didn't know how to stop. He nodded. The house around them creaked with time, every corner filled with history. Pictures lined the mantel, Evelyn and James on their wedding day, a blurry snapshot of Thomas fishing, a faded photo of the three of them before the world broke open. Caleb's eyes landed on one in particular, a small black-and-white image of a young soldier in uniform. "That's him?" he asked. Evelyn turned to look. Her fingers brushed the frame as if it might crumble. "James, your grandfather. He never came home." She shook her head. "No body. No word. Just gone." Caleb hesitated, then reached into his bag again. "I'm not sure this will mean anything, but I found this when I was researching Dad's journals." He placed a weathered military tag on the table. "James Warren." Evelyn gasped. "I traced it back to a private collection, someone who found it overseas. It was labeled as Unknown Soldier Effects. I bought it the moment I saw the name." She picked it up with reverence, as if it were gold. The metal was cold. Real. Proof. And for the first time in years, she felt the weight of the past settle, not like a burden, but like closure. "I think," Caleb whispered, "you've waited long enough." Evelyn's eyes filled again, but this time with peace. "Yes," she breathed. "It's time to live again." A week had passed since Caleb arrived. The town had begun to whisper again, but this time with curiosity instead of pity. The curtains in Evelyn's home still opened at 4, but now a second shadow joined her at the window. Caleb sat beside her, notebook in hand, sketching memories she whispered between sips of tea. But there was one room she had never invited him into. Not yet. It was upstairs, at the end of the hall. The door had remained closed for over 40 years, since the day the telegram never came, and hope began to haunt instead of heal. Thomas's room. One morning, as golden light spilled across the floorboards, Evelyn stood outside the door. Caleb watched quietly, waiting. With a trembling hand, she turned the knob. Dust motes danced in the sunlight as the door creaked open. Inside was a time capsule, model airplanes on shelves, comic books stacked by the bed, a half-finished painting still on the easel. Everything exactly as he left it. Caleb stepped inside slowly, reverently. "I feel like I've walked into my own past," he whispered. Evelyn reached into a small wooden box on the desk and pulled out a bundle of letters tied with string. "He used to write to his father, even when we knew he wouldn't get the answers." She untied the ribbon. "He kept hope alive for me." One by one, they read the letters aloud. Caleb's voice cracked as he read Thomas's words, boyish, hopeful, full of longing for a man he never knew. "Dear Dad, Mom says you were a good man. I want to believe that. I want to believe you tried to come home." Evelyn wiped her eyes. "He never stopped searching." "And neither did you," Caleb said gently. They sat on the edge of the bed, the house quiet around them. The room no longer felt like a shrine, but like a bridge. Between generations. Between love and loss. Between who they were and who they could now become. It was autumn now. The leaves outside the window danced like fire, swirling in the breeze as if celebrating something long awaited. Evelyn stood by the window, the same spot she had once occupied in silence for decades. But today, she wasn't alone. Caleb stood beside her, tall and strong, with the warmth of a family she thought she'd lost forever. They had spent the last few months breathing life back into the home. The faded walls had fresh paint. The dusty piano now played again, sometimes off-key, sometimes sweet. Laughter echoed in the rooms that once knew only silence. And Evelyn had changed. The heaviness in her eyes had lifted. She still missed James, still dreamed of Thomas. But now their stories had found an ending. Not in death, but in legacy. "Do you regret waiting?" Caleb asked her quietly. She thought about it for a long moment. The sun dipped lower on the horizon, casting the sky in gold and lavender. "No," she said, "because waiting made this moment possible. If I had moved on, maybe you never would have found me. And maybe I never would have healed." He smiled. "I'm glad you waited." They stepped onto the porch, where neighbors now waved without fear. Some even stopped by. Evelyn had begun teaching piano again. Caleb had taken a job at the local school. Life, it seemed, had returned. Then one day, a package arrived. No return address. Just a leather-bound journal with faded initials, J.W. Inside, page after page of James' handwriting. "Captured. Escaped. Survived. But I couldn't return. Not yet. I prayed you'd forgive me." The last page read, "If this ever reaches you, know I never stopped loving you. And I never stopped believing in our window." Evelyn pressed the journal to her heart. Tears welled, but they didn't fall. Because her heart was full. Not of longing, but of peace. She turned to Caleb, her voice steady. "Let's go watch the sunset. I think it's the last one I'll ever watch from behind this glass." And with that, she stepped away from the window, finally free. Life lessons from the story. Love never truly dies. It waits. Evelyn's unwavering love for her husband, and later for her son, shows that love can endure time, silence, and loss. Even in grief, it remains, shaping our lives in quiet, powerful ways.